Hi class, in this video I am going to go over the syllabus and I'm also going to show you how to navigate the course. So the first thing you will see on our home page is obviously the syllabus and a link to the Getting Started module. So those are basically the two things I'm going to go over. If you want to download the syllabus, you can go ahead and click on the word syllabus and you can see right here what file is going to be downloaded. If you don't want to download it but you just want to take a look at it, you can go ahead and click on the magnifying glass and it'll show it to you, and of course you can go ahead and maximize it. Now obviously, I'm not going to go over the entire syllabus because you can go ahead and do that on your own, but I do want to point out some things. For example, I do want to point out that the best way to contact me is through my email, through natalie@nmsu.edu, or through Canvas inbox. Another thing is that I realize that sometimes maybe you'd like to talk in person, so I have included my office phone number. Now obviously I'm not in my office because nobody is allowed on campus, but if you call that number, I should be receiving your voicemail through my email. So that's something to keep in mind if you need to get a hold of me. However, I do typically check my email every single day, so I'll try to reply to you within 24 to 48 hours. In the case that I don't, then that means that I probably did not receive your email, because sometimes that happens from time to time. So moving on, one of the things obviously that is very important is the textbook. And the textbook that we are going to be using is Practical Strategies for Technical Communication, 3rd edition by Mike Markle. And if you look at our home page, you will see that we have a picture of the actual textbook there. So moving on, here we have the important dates to remember, which of course this also covers summer 1. So just, obviously you are seeing information from May. But basically what you need to remember is that our course starts on July 1st. We get the 4th of July off, which means that obviously we're not going to have any assignments due on the 4th of July. And then, well, according to this, July 3rd is also observed. And then, of course, our semester ends on August 6th, which means that I cannot accept any work after August 6th. So you can go ahead and read the course competencies and the program student learning outcomes. When it comes to the classroom policies, one of the things I do want to point out is obviously Canvas. Canvas is where we are having this course. It is an entirely online class, so you want to make sure that you're familiar with Canvas. You want to make sure that you know how to navigate it. Also, you want to make sure that you have a reliable Wi-Fi or internet connection. Obviously, this is very important because if you don't have a reliable internet connection, you won't be able to submit your work. And please make sure that you allow yourself enough time to submit your work. This is a summer class, and summer classes are very, very fast paced, so you can't afford to fall behind. And also, saying that your internet connection was not working is not necessarily a valid excuse, because you have a whole week to submit an assignment. So I would suggest to not wait till 11:58 to submit an assignment, because that way if your internet breaks down, you still have time. Like, let's say for example an assignment is due on Sunday, you can try submitting it around 7 p.m. and then if you're having problems, you can try to fix it so that you can submit it by 11:59 p.m. Of course, if you've already been trying to fix it for 2 hours and it's 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. or whatever, you can go ahead and email me just to let me know, I tried submitting it at 7, I've been trying to submit it for 3 hours, I can't fix my issue, what can I do? But if you start submitting something at 11:59 and you have computer issues, obviously that only leaves you with like 1 minute to fix the internet issue. So make sure you have reliable Wi-Fi connection, and of course issues always happen. The internet for some reason tends to not work when we need it the most, so make sure that you don't submit everything at the very last minute, because the assignments will close at 11:59 p.m. And I don't allow late work. So when the assignment closes, it's going to close. It's not going to allow you to submit it late or anything like that. It'll just close, and it will not allow any late submissions. So please make sure that you submit your work on time. And that's basically what I mentioned here, that, I don't allow late work. It becomes a habit, and especially with summer classes, you cannot get into the habit of submitting late work because you fall behind. And with summer classes, it's very, very difficult to catch up, just because every week we have to do a lot of work in order to complete the course in 6 weeks or so. So another thing that you need besides reliable internet connection is a laptop. I don't suggest doing the work through a phone. Maybe a tablet could work, but the reason I don't suggest that is because, like, for example, in my face-to-face classes, sometimes students would use their phone instead of a computer to submit a quiz, and the quiz wouldn't go through. And also, it's kind of hard to submit files through your phone. So just make sure that you have a laptop in case any issues arise. But typically, I think, just to be on the safe side, you should submit all of your work through a computer. So as I mentioned, late work is not allowed. If you do stop submitting work, please make sure that you withdraw, because it is your responsibility to withdraw. I'm not going to withdraw you myself, so please make sure that you call your advisor and you make the proper arrangements to be withdrawn from the course. Obviously, it goes without saying, but please be respectful to your classmates and to myself as well. Please make sure that you stick to the course topics and you do not bring up any offensive or irrelevant information. So moving on to the assignments, we are going to have 3 major assignments. The first one is a resume and job application letter, otherwise known as a cover letter. We're also going to do a recommendation report. And the final assignment is a guide/manual. This is a department-wide assessment. So that means that every English 218 class has to do a manual during the semester. As far as minor assignments, we do have 5 writing exercises. The writing exercises, basically, they require you to write like a memo or an email or, some sort of like writing exercise, like an analysis of instructions. For one of them, I have you work on your design skills. So I have you revise a newsletter. Those are typically due on Sundays, and the specific due dates are obviously listed in the syllabus. We're also going to have 5 discussion questions. The discussion questions obviously are meant so that we can communicate weekly. And something very important that you want to keep in mind is that I forgot to mention, the writing exercises are worth 20 points, and so are the discussion questions. But I wanted to mention for the discussion questions that you need to provide 2 responses. Your first response is to the original question, which is posted by myself, and this response is due by Thursday, 11:59 p.m. Now, obviously, for this first week, the due dates are going to be a little bit different because, like, for example, for this week, our writing exercise is due on Tuesday as opposed to Sunday because we are starting on Wednesday. Also, the discussion question for this week, I'm not going to take off points if you don't reply by Thursday or anything like that. However, you do want to make sure that even though it's our first discussion question, you want to make sure that you reply twice. One to the original post and then once to a classmate. So any other week besides this first week, the discussion question will be due on Thursday. Basically what that means is that you respond to the original post by Thursday, 11:59 p.m. And then you have until Saturday to respond to a classmate. Now, obviously, you can respond to more than one classmates, to more than one classmate. It doesn't mean that you get extra points or anything like that. It just means that you are communicating and interacting with your classmates. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you submit your first response by Friday and your second response by Saturday. If you fulfill all of the requirements, you will get 20 points for your discussion. However, because you submitted your first post on Friday and not Thursday, I will take off 1 point from your participation grade. So if you do that every week, obviously you could still get 20 out of 20, but I will take off a point because you did not submit it by Thursday. So I don't deduct you a whole lot of points. I just deduct you 1 point if it's late. So just keep that in mind, because I know some people really do care about their grade, and even like 1 point is important to them. So just make sure that you submit your first response to the original post by Thursday, and that you reply to a classmate by Saturday. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that your discussion post should be well developed, thoughtful, and you should answer the discussion question that I have posed. So make sure that you read it carefully and make sure that you address every single thing that I ask in the discussion question. That way you can get your full 20 points. And of course, make sure that you use proper grammar and things like that. Also, make sure that you are respectful, that you don't use any offensive language, that you don't make any derogatory remarks, that you stick to the topic, you don't bring up personal information or anything like that. We're also going to have quizzes. Now the quizzes are timed, and they're usually about 35 minutes, and they are over the chapters. So my suggestion is that you read the chapter before you take the quiz, because these are supposed to be reading quizzes. So obviously you should read the chapter before you get to the quiz. And they're not very difficult questions. They're just kind of meant to quiz you on important information from that chapter. Quizzes are also due on Saturdays, and you can only take them once. So typically I would say this class should be about 2 to 3 hours of homework outside of the classroom. Because it's a summer class, you can maybe think about doubling that. And here we have the grading policy and the assignment points. So there's a total of 610 possible points. And basically the way that I average that is I will add up all of your points and divide it by 610 to get your final grade. And of course, here we see the tentative schedule. Now obviously if things happen, then of course I'll make changes and I will announce that. So here you could see I divided it up into 3 columns: date, readings, and assignments. So the assignments column will tell you what is due for that week. Now, like I said, the first week is a little bit off because I'm giving you a little bit more time for the writing exercise 1. This one is due on a Tuesday, and then the quiz and the discussion are due on Sunday. So only that week. For the other weeks, we go back to our regular due dates, which are Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So now let's go ahead and get to our actual course page. So once you're here to the home page, after you've looked at the syllabus, you can go ahead and look at the Getting Started module. Now the Getting Started module is basically going to provide a lot of important information. The first thing you want to read is the introduction to the course page. Now once you click there, you're going to find this navigation video. And then I also go over my modes of communication, the student outcomes, the course competencies, things like that. I also talk a little bit about grading. Grading typically takes me anywhere from 5 to 10 days. Sometimes it could take me longer. Like for example, if I'm reading a recommendation report, those tend to be a little bit longer. So just keep that in mind, that I am teaching 2 summer classes and they are both full. So I have about 48 students. So my other class is in English 111, so they submit essays. So obviously I read everything that you write. So it does take me a while to grade. So typically 5 to 10 days, unless, like I said, I fall behind because of assignments or anything like that. Here I have a video on how to submit an assignment, and also how to view your feedback. That's very important because I do provide feedback, written feedback, rubric feedback, and sometimes, not all the time, I do audio feedback. So this shows you how to view that. And then over here, I also have a handout that shows you how to view your feedback. For the assignments, I do use Turnitin. So basically that lets you know what content or what percentage is plagiarized in your assignment. And this video explains a little bit more on how to access your originality report. Now, I don't use Turnitin to try to catch anybody plagiarizing. I use it as an educational tool. So what I suggest is that, for example, I mostly use it for the major assignments. So what I suggest is that you maybe try to submit your rough draft or your assignment a little bit earlier than the due date, like a few days before the due date, and then just go ahead and see what, if any, content is plagiarized, and then you can go ahead and fix that so that it doesn't show up when you actually submit the assignment. And just make sure that you go back and you submit the final draft that doesn't have any plagiarized content and things like that. So this video explains it, and like I said, it's more of a tool to help you, because I know a lot of students sometimes they are afraid or they want to know if they're plagiarizing and things like that, and they don't find out until they turn in the assignment. So by using this, you can go ahead and access the originality report and see what percentage is plagiarized. Now obviously if you get like 5% or 10%, that's not a lot. Sometimes the Turnitin software will say it's plagiarized even though you cited it. So that's not a big deal. What you want to look for are any passages that closely resemble content that was found online. That's what you want to look for. Also, I talk about extra credit. The only extra credit I offer obviously was to attend events, but we don't have any events. So you can get extra credit by submitting your recommendation report, your resume and cover letter, or your manual to the tutoring center. Now, in order to receive online tutoring, I do have to add you to the online course. So if you are interested in online tutoring, you can just go ahead and let me know, and I can add you to the ARC Canvas page, the Academic Readiness Center Canvas page, so that you can submit your assignments through there. Now obviously we also have BrainFuse, and there I think that you can go on your own and sign up and things like that. So for that, you want to make sure that you do fill out a summary of tutoring session, which is basically like a little handout that asks you what they told you, what feedback they provided, things like that. And I also have 2 extra credit assignments that I created that you can go ahead and complete for 10 points each. Regarding the format of the written assignments, they all center on the workplace. So in the workplace, you write letters, resumes, memos, emails. So make sure that you read the instructions for each assignment so that you know what kind of format you are supposed to use. Sometimes I provide templates, or sometimes I go ahead and tell you write an email. You know, obviously for the recommendation report, you are going to do that as a report, and I do have like the different sections in the instructions. So make sure that you read the instructions. Like I mentioned earlier, Canvas is how we are going to be conducting this course. So if you're not too familiar with Canvas, they do offer support. So I do have some links here for the frequently asked questions. I also have their information. And if you want to do online training for Canvas because you want to learn how to use it, you can go ahead and go to this link, and it provides information for registration. I also have some Zoom resources. Now obviously we're not going to have Zoom classroom meetings because this class was designed to be online from the very beginning, even before the pandemic happened. So we don't have regular Zoom classes. However, it's important to activate your Zoom account, and it's important to read the instructions on how to use Zoom and Canvas in case you ever want to meet with me during my virtual office hours. And here I have some etiquette for online classes. Obviously I mentioned this before, but you know, just make sure that you are respectful, that you don't share any personal information, things like that. Obviously we want to make sure that we express our thoughts, but we also want to make sure that we do it in a way where it's not offensive, and we also want to be open-minded and respect other people's thoughts, even if they are not the same as ours. So please read these, and also go ahead and read the Netiquette Guide for Online Courses. Now, obviously, if it becomes an issue where you violate, the netiquette, like let's say you post personal information or something like that, or you start harassing someone, obviously I would have to report you and I would have to remove you from the discussion forum. So please make sure that you adhere to this. Here I mentioned the textbook again, which is a 3rd edition. And to get started, the first thing you should do is you should go to our introductions, and basically I ask you, what is your name? What is your preferred name? Where are you from? What are your hobbies? And what are you looking forward to doing this summer? And I do remind you that there is a rubric for this assignment, so make sure that you go ahead and look at it. So this course is basically designed by modules. So I suggest that when you are looking through this course, that you don't go through files or anything like that. Basically, most of the things you need are in the modules. So as you can see, I just went over the introduction to the course, but you want to make sure that you visit all of these links in the module, because like for example, this one shows you how to download Office 365, because all of you get Office 365 for free through NMSU. And the Microsoft Office Suite is actually pretty pricey. I just bought a new laptop this summer, and I had purchased another laptop like 2 years ago, and for both of them I've just downloaded Office 365, because at first when I bought my other laptop like 2 years ago, I thought, no, I'll just go ahead and purchase it. But then I realized it was really expensive. So I downloaded it to that laptop, and now I have it downloaded to my new laptop. So feel free to do that. I know some students think, oh, I can only do it on one laptop. No, you can do it on multiple laptops, and it works really well. You can save the documents to your laptop as well. So make sure that you take advantage of this. It's basically the whole Office suite. It's Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel. I think they have Publisher on there as well. So definitely take advantage of it, because you are receiving that because you are an NMSU student. I also recommend that you set up your notifications on Canvas through your phone. That way you get notified of announcements, new assignments, things like that. I also have a general help and questions forum. So basically what this is you can post any general questions you might have about an assignment, or about a specific reading. So this is basically a general questions. So anything you feel other people might be questioning as well, you can go ahead and post here. Now, because it's general, you want to make sure that you don't post any personal information. So anything regarding your grade or a specific assignment that you submitted, you just want to go ahead and email me. But if it's something, like, does anybody know where I can find the instructions for the recommendation report? That's something that you can post here, and I can answer it, or somebody else can answer it. So going back to the modules, I do have the extra credit summary of tutoring session form that you should fill out if you submit one of the major assignments to online tutoring. And then I also encourage you to read this, and then I have the 2 extra credit assignments. Obviously it says 0 points, but each one is worth 10 points. So I have these 2 assignments right here, and they are due by August 2nd. So you have practically a month to do those. Now I do want to mention about extra credit is that I want to mention that it's not mandatory. You don't have to complete any extra credit. It's optional. So if you want to raise your grade, or if you want to go ahead and get some points just in case you don't do so well in a future assignment, you can go ahead and do that. However, please be realistic with extra credit. The most that you can get extra credit wise is 35 points. So you do have some options for extra credit, but obviously that's not going to make up for a lot of missed assignments, because like for example, the resume and cover letter is worth 50 points. If you miss that, you can only make up 35 points extra credit. So obviously that's not even going to be enough for that. So just be realistic. I don't want you to think like, oh, well, I missed 10 assignments. If I do extra credit, I'll be able to pass the class. No, extra credit is meant to help you get over that hump, or if you have a 78, it can help you get to a B, but it's not going to help you if you miss a lot of assignments. And lastly, I have organized the modules into weeks. So each week it tells you what is due. Obviously, the book is not, I think that you can buy an ebook, but obviously I cannot link that here because you have to purchase that. So that's why I don't have the readings. So for the readings for each week, you want to go ahead and make sure that you refer to the syllabus for the readings. So like for example, for week 3, our writing exercise is going to ask you to write emails and memos. And I do have some additional information to help you understand memos and emails a little bit more. And then like for example, that week, I also have another module that is going to go over recommendation reports a little bit more in depth. So like I said, the best way to navigate the course is to go through the modules. And I also have, besides the weekly modules, I also have a writing tools module that goes over concise writing, because business writing should be more concise. So you want to make sure that you are not too wordy or anything like that. I also have a module that goes over design and some of the pandemic links from NMSU and DECC. And then of course I have a module on APA and research tools. One of the things I'll mention about this is that APA is not really covered in this class because that's something that you learned in English 111. However, I know that sometimes people took English 111 a long time ago, so that's why I have this here to kind of refresh your memory. However, if you do need any help with APA, I can always go ahead and help you. So the last thing I'll mention, which is obviously very important, is that I will mostly be communicating through announcements. So right now we don't have any announcements here, but you want to make sure that you check every Monday, because every Monday I'll post an announcement that tells you what is due for that week, and it also tells you any updates. So like for example, if I say, if Canvas is down, I will go ahead and say, oh, this Sunday Canvas was down, so I moved the deadline for this assignment to Tuesday. So basically what I do for each announcement each week is I go ahead and I let you know what's due for that week and any reminders and any updates. So you want to make sure that you set your notifications so that you get notified whenever I announce something. So also if there's like any issues with like, due dates or glitches with Canvas or any important DECC information, I will go ahead and share it through announcements. So you want to make sure that for the weekly updates on the course, you check them every Monday. And for anything else, like I said, it just depends whenever new information pops up or anything like that. But the announcements about the week, I call them the week ahead announcements, those will be posted every Monday. So this concludes our video for the course. I hope that you learned a little bit about how to navigate the course, and like I said, go over the syllabus, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a summer class, so summer classes are very, very fast paced for you and for myself, because that means I have to be grading a lot during each week. So they're very fast paced, so if you have any questions, please contact me as soon as possible. That way you don't fall behind. That way you don't, stop doing an assignment or anything like that because you didn't know how to do it. So yeah, if you have any questions, just go ahead and email me. And of course, if you would like to talk, we can always set up a Zoom meeting. So I look forward to working with all of you this summer.